maybe that workflow you're trying to automate isn't working because it's not really a process, but a workaround. All right, let's talk about it. I'm Tom Northrup, digital gardener, covering systems architect, hiding out here on TikTok, trying to help people build better. Now, with agentic AI and agents, we're trying to automate workflows and businesses. So, this is for businesses that have existing workflows and processes documented and stuff like that. So, if you're implementing agentic AI in a business, you need to go through process engineering. You need to review your processes. I worked for a company and was part of a company where we won the Malcolm Baldrige Award for process documentation and implementation. The Malcolm Baldrige Award is given out by the federal government to recognize businesses who excel at process improvement and stuff like that. So this taught me the granularity of what a real process documentation looks like, right? Like every step, I send this email, this person does this, next, this is processed, this is reviewed, here's where it can break, blah, 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 blah. But commonly when I go into businesses all the time, is they have these processes and they've implemented a tech solution previously, maybe it was a CRM or SharePoint or whatever, and they implemented it to support this process. Well, the process was created when it was manual and never updated. It's a 10-year-old process or a 5-year-old process, whatever it is. Here's the point, is that when I dig into these processes, they're not real processes, they're just mature workarounds, you know? And this is an idea I was taught early on, was like, that person's not describing a process, they're describing a mature workaround, right? And then what I mean by that is you developed a process because technology couldn't deliver the functionality that you needed, so you created some other process. And then when I come to implement and automate your systems, you give me this process and say this needs automated, but there's so many steps that are not relevant anymore in the process because with automation and technology we can bypass that, right? And so it's important. Process engineering matters, right? Talk to AI, ask AI about process engineering. I know it knows it because we built it and talked about it for decades. So, and by we, I mean the tech community. I'm not saying me personally created this stuff, so don't go there. So, if you're looking to automate your process, here's what this process looks like. To find out if it's a mature workflow or an actual process, you need to review the process and ask on every step, is this because there's no technical solution that we do this step, or is it required by regulation, compliance, whatever, right? So some parts of the process require manual intervention. You have to be there. Also, if you don't have manual intervention and you're going to automate with AI, you need to put in manual intervention, human in command, not in the loop, not human wandering around hoping they get contacted. Ownership, accountability matters, human in command, right? So what we do is this exercise is I'll talk through the process and I have 5 whys. And I tell people ahead of time, I say, you're going to hate me and you're going to get annoyed, but if you want something from me built, if you're going to spend your company's money to build something, you need to answer why 5 times. This is another trick I picked up from someone else. So we need a button to send an email to our, clients when the statement of work's ready. Okay, why? What? Why? What? They say. Why do you need a button? Well, because we got to send the email and we need a way to send the email. Okay, so you don't need a button, you need a way to send email. Why do you need to send them the statement of work? Well, what do you mean? They got to sign it. They got to get into it. They got to review it and approve it. That's how we make sales. Okay. So you don't need to send them the statement of work. The real requirement is you need them to sign the statement of work. It's a different requirement, right? And so their complicated process that they thought of, once applied with years of experience and design, I now make it a more narrow, focused process. Here's the real requirement. Here's what you actually need, not what you're asking for, right? So before you go and automate stuff in agentic systems and then wonder why it's haywire and not making any sense because 85% AI implementations aren't going good, think about your process. process engineering matters. You want to hear more on this topic? Let's talk about it